Hello and welcome. In my last art haul, I bought empty half pans, and that is because I need to fix my palette that contains, amongst other things, my Royal Talens Rembrandt watercolors. These, I got an odd number of these. I got 34 tubes of paint from them, and that's because I bought them on clearance at a store many years ago, and I pretty much just bought a lot of all that was the colors that was left. I think they had like 72 colors or something like that in the line at the time, but most of them were sold out. But I did get a pretty good palette of mixed colors. I had been away from art for plus 20 years, and m- back before that, I used only Winsor Newton artist watercolors. So when I came back, I was curious about other brands, and this was the only artist grade watercolors I had. And I wasn't particularly discriminate. I really just got all of them. So there are some colors amongst here that has turned out over the years. I don't really use all that much. There are some of these that are too similar to each other. And yeah, it's a little bit of an odd palette. And it is the old formula. There's a couple of colors that is no longer sold from Royal Talents, and some other of them that has been changed the formula. So that was the one thing. Then I bought another set later on, not too much later actually. My Winsor Newton Artist Grade black box. I bought a 24 set. I didn't like the earth tones in there much at the time, so I kind of put them away aside a little bit, and then I took and made some half pans with some of the earth tones from the Royal Talent set. And I put them for a while in my set with Winsor Newton paints. Then I changed that around because I bought some other colors for that. And then I put the earth tones back in this here. So I had some double ups of some of the earth tones, and it was a kind of a mess. Then later on again, I know I cleaned up and sorted this palette out, and I moved some colors out of here into, I don't know, and can I find them? Nowhere. They probably sit a little pile of half pants somewhere in a drawer, in a tin, in a bag, something, and I absolutely cannot find them anywhere. So instead of trying to figure that out, I got new half pants, and we're gonna sort this palette out and make it good again because it's a little amputated right now. In here is also my core watercolors. I got 14 colors. I have previously bought, you can get some little sets from core that is called, one is called High Chroma, and then there's one that's called Nature that I don't have, and then there's the last one, and I think maybe it's called Essentials or something. It's a primary mixing set. So got those in here. Then I have been buying a Cobalt Turquoise open stock as well as the Titanium Buff. So there's 14 colors in here. I always end up with funny numbers. Um, and I would like this palette to be its best again. There will be room for another 4 colors when I'm done. And I think maybe I'll have another couple of colors from Core and maybe a couple of colors from Royal Talents. But by and large, I want to try and use this palette as much as I can because there are some of the colors from Royal Talents that I want to use up and not replace, not with the same color, at least maybe something else interesting from Royal Talents. So this video, other than being a long rant about this, will be put this to one side, fill up the 12 missing pans. Because when I was preparing the video, I found out I had no Indigo in there and no Hooker's Green Deep, but I had 2 pans of Prussian Blue. So we end up with my 10 earth colors and my a green and a blue. So let's start pouring and slowly putting them in there. I'll keep this there so I can see where things go, because I planned ahead and I already messed it up because I wrote the wrong name of the palette. This one is called the bunny palette because my husband, a long time ago put this little bunny sticker on it. I have one identical palette here that is just called black because there's nothing on it. That's how I know them from each other. So here we put it. So let's just start. I better open it up. I got all the tubes here just in case that I figure out that I need to do something. I didn't plan on doing anything, but let's just see. So in there we need the indigo, and I absolutely love the indigo of this brand. It's pretty much nearly a Prussian blue. No, not Prussian blue. That's nonsense. Like a Payne's gray, blackish blue. And I'm not bothered if it doesn't go in the corners and stuff. As you can see, I don't fill up pans all that neatly. So that goes in there. And this one can join its buddies over there in the mess. Then we need the Hooker's Green at the end. I just double check that, yeah, it is Hooker's Green Deep. Nowadays I don't buy greens anymore. I mix them. I don't mind them. It is just not strictly necessary for me with all that, these convenience greens. I have to say this one is a particularly nice Hooker's Green, so I enjoy that. And from there we then start on the earth tones with raw sienna. And you might think that 5 milliliters of watercolor doesn't seem like a lot if you're new to watercolors, but I tell you, it is. It is tons and tons and tons of color. You can paint many, many, many paintings with a 5 milliliter tube. So that was the raw sienna. And I don't have a yellow ochre at all in this set. And it doesn't matter because the raw sienna it's more transparent and it looks a bit like the yellow ochre anyways. So we need the burnt sienna. We need that in a bit. I get all the wrong ones here. I might just as well put them in order as I grab them. Burn number 1, and that was a burnt sienna. So raw umber. No, I'm just totally out of it. Sorry. So here is then burnt sienna. Here's the next one. And this is the right burnt sienna. This one is also the right raw sienna. That is PY43, and this is PBR7. So those are single pigment earth tones, and I quite like them. I'm sorry, I think I said it was the raw umber, but we are going burnt sienna, raw sienna, burnt sienna, raw umber, and burnt umber. So here's the raw umber. This, sadly, is one of the colors that they have not continued. It is discontinued. It is a really nice raw umber. It's a little cool red, yellowish green, as it should be. I have no idea why they let it discontinue. It's a PBR7 as it should be. Many of these colors are now mixed pigment things in many other brands. Burnt umber, and this is also a PBR7 burnt umber. Absolutely love it. This one I think they still got. I hope so, because my tube is nearly empty. And the cap doesn't want to go on right. So now we are going into some, I think all of them is PR 101, more or less the next three here. Here we got light oxide red. This has been discontinued. And I think I can kind of understand why, because it's nearly identical to the next color. I don't have a ton of it left, so let's just see if I can nearly empty the tube in there. It's almost a terracotta red color. It's quite nice. And the next one on here is Venetian Red. And that is another PR 101 color, and it's very close in color to the red light that they discontinued. Can almost also fit what is left in here. This is a little darker though. But you can see already just in the pans that they're very close. And when you swatch them out, you can see still that they're very close. Then they got an Indian red, and this is another PR 101, but they added another red pigment, PR 264. So, but it is very close again to the two other reds. I'd say I would only need one of them on my palette, if even that. I don't use reds all that much, even neutral reds like this. But they're super nice colors. And the last three is, actually this is one of my favorites, transparent red oxide, or they write it oxide red. The transparency of this makes it really, really nice. And I think this is it has come to stay kind of color on my palette. It is another PR 101 pigment. When they have the same name but different colors, the pigments, is that it means that they have the same chemical composition, but there are structural differences in the mineral that causes them, or it can also be how it's milled in the factory. So that makes them different colors. Here I have another transparent oxide. This is the brown, and it is yet another version of PR101. PR101 is a synthetic factory-made pigment. It's iron oxide. Actually, this looks in the pan almost black, but it isn't. It's a nice brown. And then last we got a sepia. Sepia these days is always mixed pigments. The real sepia is squid ink, but it's not light fast. So I don't know anybody who sells real sepia. They all sell us some mixture of other pigments. So along with indigo, which is the same problem, indigo is not light fast by nature. So each company pretty much has their own mixture of indigo. So indigo and sepia, you might get different versions from different companies. So that is all of the colors in there now. Now my palette is finally complete again. I can tell that my ultramarine might like a little bit of a fill up. Where do we have it? Ultramarine. It's even an ultramarine deep blue. I wasn't even aware of that. I haven't written that on my swatch chart. Let's just fill it up. I think the Phthalo Blue green shade could use a little squirt more. Now we're at it. Oh, sticky fingers. Prussian Blue, don't need that. And that one can't be filled up. Phthalo Blue green shade. Can we find the red shade as well? We might as well fill that up as. Yeah. The red shade is actually really nice. Most companies pretty much only offers the blue shade and the green. Speaking of which, let's grab that and fill that up. That was kind of a lot, Ronnie. Oh, why not just fill up the ones here? That one, that's Vermilion, so that gotta be Cadmium Red Medium. That's a Cadmium Red. It's a little loose in there. Permanent Red Deep can also fill up a bit. They used to have quite a lot of mixed pigment colors. They have changed quite a few of them. Here's a Cadmium Deep. Cadmium Red Deep. But they when they changed their formulas, they changed some of them into more single pigments colors. So like the carmine, the one I have here is a two pigment mixture, PR246 and PV19, and it's really nice. But nowadays it's a single pigment. I haven't looked up which which pigment they went with in there. I think they maybe just the PR 264. I was stuck a little bit. Quinacridone Rose. This is a single one. PV19. Actually, a favorite of mine. And then we have another version of PV19. This is the red violet version. So it's a little bit the same story as the PR101. So now it almost looks like I like my palette. Acer Yellow Light. Might just as well go the full way. Also Yellow Light. Can fill that up a bit more too. There we go. Now it doesn't look so scruffy anymore. I'll pause the camera here and clean the tubes away and make ready for swatching. So this is going to be interesting because now a lot of this paint is wet and I'm not a big friend of wet paint. I should maybe... No, I'll put my arm in the paint. So permanent yellow lemon is the first one. And I actually I like the yellows that I ended up getting. At the time, I didn't know anything about, for instance, like this is a Acer Yellow Light. I didn't know anything about Acer Yellows. These two look kind of a lot similar when you first swatch them, but when they dry, they look more different. So, and we got also an Acer Yellow Medium or Deep. It should be medium. I wrote deep. It's only a medium. But I quite like them. I used to have only cadmium yellows, but these are actually nicer than the cadmiums. So here we got Enables Yellow Deep. And it's, I think they changed the formula on this one. They definitely changed the Acer Yellow Medium to a single pigment version. Now this Naples Yellow, they changed the formula on this, but I don't know into what. This is a 3 pigment mixture. There's the PBR24, that is the real Naples Yellow, but they put some PY53 in there. I don't know which color that is. And then there's some PW4 in there, so white. And it's kind of, it looks a lot pale when it's swatched right now. Can't really get the base color right. So we have another Naples Yellow here. And that is Naples Yellow Red. Again, it's a mixture of 3 pigments. This one, it's a PY42, which is yellow ochre, with PO43, that's an orange. I'm not sure which one that is. The red and orange is pigments I'm not super good at. And then again, the white PW4. I think that's zinc white actually. Cadmium orange, super nice, super bright orange. And whoopsie, something dirty happened. I have no idea. Ah, well, nice orange. Like it better than Pearl Orange, that which I have other versions of. Then there's Vermilion. And this is another one they have changed. They have changed the orange, the Naples yellows, and the Acer Yellow Medium, which are called Deep. Don't know what they changed the Vermilion into, but I think it's kind of sad because it's a nice Vermilion. Then I got, and this was one of the wet ones, Cadmium Red Medium. Really nice one. And that's PR 108. And the other one is, the next one is Cadmium Red Deep, and it's the same pigment. 108. I haven't put the pigment information on this tiny little swatch card. This is for me picking colors. I got other lists of light fastness and whatnot. All of these are actually 3-star as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's all 3-star. So it's the light fastness of these are great. And there's a permanent red deep, and it's PR 254. Don't remember if it's a pearl red or if it's a what's the other name? Phthalo Red. I don't remember if it's one or the other. It's a nice one anyways. I got an excessive amount of reds and purples. Carmine was, I talked about, was changed, but I quite like this one. It is a little similar to alizarin crimson, but it is not quite as brown, which I like. Quen Rose, whoops, a magenta type color. And its sister, Quen Red Violet, more bluish, maybe a deeper color. Very nice one. And then we have a permanent blue violet, and that is one that they discontinued. It is similar in color to dioxazine violet, but not quite as strong colored, but better light fastness. This is a mixture of PB19 and PB15. So it's phthalo blue and one of these, a quinacridone violet, pink color. So you could basically probably mix something similar if you've got those two colors. Ultramarine blue, and now I know it's an ultramarine blue deep even. Yeah, it's an ultramarine. Granulates a bit. If I could put a color on my, not my favorite supply challenge list, it would be ultramarine blue. It's not that I minded, there are just some better alternatives, I think. And one of them is this one, Phthalo Blue Red shade. That was way too much paint. That was one of the wet ones. So the Phthalo Red shade is a really nice blue color, and it's nice to mix with if you can control it, because it is a phthalo color. So it tends to be a very strong mixing color. And here's the Phthalo Green shade next to it. And if you see them just one and not the other, it can be hard to tell them apart. But when you put them next to each other, it's actually very clear that it is two different colors, which my camera decided not to pick up on. I hope you trust me on that one. Then here is Prussian Blue, which used to be my absolute favorite green blue, but the fluctuating nature of it makes it a little difficult to work with. It fades away when it's exposed to UV light, but when if you then put it in darkness for a long time, it kind of comes back. So and you can apparently peel it out so that it never comes back. Which is kind of a little bit of an annoying property, sadly, because it's a brilliant, fabulous blue. Here is the Indigo, and look at that. I mean, who needs a Prussian? Why do I keep saying that? Why do you need a Payne's Gray if you got that dark black Indigo there? Absolutely love this. I use this along with Sepia to do an art challenge. I'll see if I can remember to put the link. I did the Bluebird art challenge with Dana Tollefson, where I decided not to paint a pretty blue bird, but just a bird, where I used blue, and I used that and the sepia to do a monochrome painting, and I absolutely loved that. And here we got another color that I don't use quite much. This is a turquoise that is a mixture of a phthalo blue and phthalo green. It's a nice turquoise though, but I don't feel I need it on my palette when I can mix something similar myself. And yes, I know I can probably not mix exactly that color, but I can mix something that's close enough. So, and here is one of the colors that goes in there, and that is Phthalo Green. For some reason, my Phthalo Green doesn't seem to be the strongest in the world. It used to have, it often has the same properties as the Phthalo Blue, that it's super, super strong in mixtures. Then I got a permanent green here, and that's a two paint mix, two pigment mix. One is the Phthalo Green and the other one is PY 154, which is the Acer Yellow light. So that is also something you can mix something similar to. I got both the green and the yellow, so I got a permanent yellow, permanent green yellow here. And it's the same two colors, just a different ratio, more yellow in there. So I'm going to use those greens up, the mixed greens, and then just not continue having them on the palette. Hughes Green Deep, a mixture of the Phthalo Green and PY 150, which I'm not sure which yellow that is. It's a nice green, but again, I only want single pigment greens on my palette. The rest I can surely mix well enough, close enough myself. Raw Sienna, and because this is the real pigment, it is not super strong in tinting strength, but super nice color. And the burnt sienna, I mean, come on, that is beautiful. Many companies do not offer the natural burnt sienna anymore. Oh, I had dirty fingers. They only offer a PR 101, either straight up PR 101 or a mixture that contains that. So the raw umber, that is no more. I think that is super sad. I really, really like this umber. I think they still offer the burned umber though. That burned umber is probably a little more warm than you would often see in other brands, but it's a nice one. It's nice brown. And the red oxide, light red oxide even. It's quite opaque. And that's another one they don't make anymore. PR 101. And now you can see the Venetian red is quite similar. It's a little more brown. Close enough, I'd say. Did I do the wrong one? Here, this should be Indian Red. And this is a mixture. They added PR 246 on there, and I've got it's the Carmine maybe. Carmine and PR 101 mixed together. So that is also one I do not plan on keeping on my palette. It is very much red. I don't use strong reds, really. I think I lost my way here. Here, transparent red oxide. This is absolutely a keeper. It's transparent and it's earth tone. It's really, because it's transparent, it's really shining. So it has a glow that is just unheard of for earth tones. And here is the brown version of this. It's nearly a greenish brown. I don't know, this is maybe what people would often think of in terms of raw umber, so maybe that's why they discontinued that one. It's a much colder version. And then there's the sepia at the end here. It's kind of a cool sepia they got. Is a little greenish. You wouldn't know it from the mixture. It's a PPK 7 mixed with PR 101, but it came out as a quite cool sepia color. So even though I kind of just got a random mixture of colors, I got a good full palette with all enough of the primaries and not too many secondary colors, and a good choice of earth tones. I didn't buy a black because I don't use blacks, and if I use black, I often use like sepia or Payne's gray in place of a black. But here I got that indigo, so I'm good. If anything, I want to shrink this palette a little bit over time, but there's so many paintings to be done before that is a reality. I'll continue this row and start out with the titanium buff here from Core. Core is made by Golden in the US, and they use that Aquasol binder. That is their property. So their colors is very clear. The others here is used with gum arabic. It's the binder there, which is traditional for watercolors. So there's only two colors I have really picked out myself of these, because this is combined pretty much of two sets I bought. But there's lots of colors in here that I want to keep. The green gold is amazing. It looks much warmer on camera than it does on here. It's like a chartreuse type of yellow. It mixes absolutely great greens with pretty much any blue you can have. Then there's an Indian yellow, and this is a warm yellow, and this is not the original Indian yellow. It's a mixture of 3 yellow pigments, or actually there's a red in there. It's PY73, PY150, and PR206. Got no idea what either of them are. Then there's a transparent pearl orange, and I said I like that cat orange more than a pearl orange. And here is one pearl orange. I don't mind this version too much. I don't use tons of orange, but it's a nice one, and it's transparent. But I like the color of the cat orange better. Here's a pearl red light. In itself, maybe not my favorite, but it's a really good mixing color. There are colors where when I just look at them, I don't like them, but I need them in my palette because I need them for mixing. So if you want to put up a palette, you might have some colors on there that you might not think too much of. Quinacridone Magenta, and this is a PR 122. It's brighter than the Quin Rose, but Quin Rose PV19 and PR 122 is often quite close. Then I have the color I don't want in here, and that's Alizarin Crimson. This is the permanent Alizarin Crimson version. Of all the permanent Alizarin Crimsons you can get, this is not the worst. This is a PR 177 version. It's not as brown as many other versions, but I don't need it, not when I got a magenta in there. Here's a favorite, and this is my favorite version of the Oxide Violet. They call it purple because they're Americans. Absolutely, it just explodes over the paper if you put it on wet paper, and I like it in mixtures and stuff. So we have an Ultramarine Blue. Same goes for this one as for any other Ultramarine Blue. It's okay, but it just is not ever gonna be my favorite color. It's nice and it's useful. Then I've said what I want to say about that. Then there's one I never used very much. It's Cerulean Blue. And this is actually a real Cerulean Blue. I believe it's a Cobalt Blue version. The pigment number of that is PB36:1. Often if you buy Cerulean Blue, it is a mixture of some Phthalo Blue and white, but this is like the real pigment. I got Cobalt Teal, and it is the PG50 version. It's a great mixing color. It is really good with yellows to make greens, and you can make some really bright greens. And if you are into tropical oceans and stuff, I believe that would be a really good color to have too. On a clearance, I got Cobalt Turquoise, which is similar but darker and a little more gray. And this is PB36, so it's cobalt color related to that one, but very different in color than the Cerulean Blue. Quinacridone Gold, and this is a mixture of PO48, which is the cousin of the long lost real quinacridone gold, and it's mixed with PY150. It's a nice quin gold. I never seen the real one, and so for me it's just like a warm yellow leaning a little bit to earth tones. I don't have much of a relationship with it. I use it in mixtures, but I'm not sure it's one I'm gonna go and buy. I think it was 149 that the real Quin Gold was, but it's long gone. It's not produced anymore. And burnt sienna, a PBR 7. It's a little lighter than the one from Royal Talens, but not too much. So by and large, in this palette, it ended up being those two brands in there because it fit. There was room for both of them. But I also think that it's, as a working palette, it is okay because there's not too many overlapping colors. I got no Darkstein Violet in here. You can actually compare those two. and that is a little more red. Um, this red is different from any of the other reds up there, and even the quinacridone is different. And I think the two most similar ones is the carmine and the alizarin crimson. And then there's all these earth tones to choose from, and I don't really have much in terms of that in the core. I got the titanium buff and the burnt sienna, and that's about it. And there's no green yellow up there. The Indian yellow, that I don't really have a warm yellow here. I have a kind of a mid-yet tone. The oranges are maybe a little similar, but it can be worked out. I can use all of them, and I'm really happy that I got my this palette sorted out, and it now looks inviting to use again. So that was Watch and Talk and a long video for me. So take care. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.